Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This morning, we have the minutes of the May 6th meeting. What action would you like to take on that?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor. Lincoln County,
All right. We have the final three purchase agreements and Ask Grant contracts signed, which is the Assistance with Specific Know-How Grants, which is seed money of around $5,000 for municipalities to do their technical assistance projects. So these are just the final three contracts from the towns of Alna, Damariscotta, and Newcastle have a joint application, and the town of Westport Island. So we'll just be looking to get your signatures on the purchase agreements so we can move forward with getting the towns their money and they can kick off their projects.
Move to authorize the payment of the Ask Grants.
Seconded.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
They need to sign each one of those, please. There might have been
Yeah, I
a
think
second
there's
one
two.
stuck in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
took out Bill. Probably should sign them.
Do you want checks on all of them?
They are.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep. Thanks, Mary.
Finance,
Good morning. Did you want to speak during public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want back up for the public comment?
oh,
I've not been before, so I don't really know how this all.
Okay, come on up. Have a seat.
well, we'll go ahead. Do you have a comment you'd like to make?
Yes, hi. My name's Carol Florman, and I live in Damariscotta. And I'm here to give a comment about any potential of working with ICE. I am a host parent of 2 foreign students, both of whom are here legally on valid visas. They are Afghans, and as of today, they lose their temporary protected status. And I'm terrified because one of them could run a stop sign. You know, she's a new driver. One of them could be mistaken, as we have seen ICE scooping up people who are not criminals, who have no records, who have no reason to be deported, who are not people who were identified as being any sort of threat to this country, who are here to study and to, make a new life. They're both young refugees. Their parents are not here. And so I want to make sure that when they come and stay with us, that they are safe in our community and we do not have to worry, and they don't have to worry about interactions with, the county sheriff, and they don't have to worry about interactions with our local police, and that they feel welcomed here. So I feel very strongly that this is, with the current administration making grievous errors that are causing people to lose their liberty, be deported for no reason and unlawfully, that we should not be cooperating with those sorts of efforts. There should only be cooperation and if there is a judicial warrant for a specific person who is accused of a crime, and then they have the opportunity to have a hearing and, and have the rule of law apply. So, thanks for listening.
Well, thank you for coming in. The people have been concerned about this activity. I'm led to believe that people who are put in jail from ICE have already been charged with something, but I may be wrong on that.
Unfortunately, that is not correct. Very often this is they're going in on administrative warrants and sometimes getting the wrong people. But administrative warrants and, frankly, even somebody who is, here has applied for asylum at the border. These are people who, are in many cases right now being deported back to countries that are not safe. And so in, terms of my personal story with, these two kids, there should not be any reason in the world that they would be detained. But that's not what we're seeing in practice. There's unfortunately, ICE is working on quotas. They're being asked to meet certain quotas, and they're making lots of errors. And they're also just really acting much more broadly than what we have been told. We're going to target criminals. Well, they're now defining criminals as somebody who's applied for asylum at the border, who may have crossed illegally to apply for asylum. And that's, I worked for the Justice Department in the 90s, and I worked on immigration issues. So I'm pretty familiar with this, and these sorts of violations were really always considered administrative. They were not considered criminal, and they're still not legally considered criminal. So in some instances, that is the excuse that is being used. In others, they're really just literally picking up the wrong person. The young man who we are host parents of, he's got a couple tattoos. He was real excited to get them. He came to the U.S. and he's got a beautiful tattoo of a solar eclipse because he's studying physics. How do we know? Because we have seen this, that might be misinterpreted as meaning something else, as we have seen, with some of the people who have been deported. So I just, I think that this is a wonderful, friendly, welcoming community, and I just think that we have to be very careful about protecting people's rights. And so for me, unless there is a judicial warrant that is accusing a specific person of a specific crime, our county sheriff should not be working with ICE. And of course, in that instance, they should be. That's a very different matter. You've got someone who has, been accused of a crime and gone to a judge, and they are wanted for armed robbery. Of course we don't want those people in our community. But, two lovely Afghan students who are here because they have escaped a place where they cannot get an education, where they would be persecuted. They should feel safe if they ever have to interact with our county sheriff.
Have you had a chance to speak with Sheriff Brackett?
I have not, and I have heard secondhand that he has, said that judicial warrants only, but I thought that this was an opportunity to come in.
It's helpful, yes, thank you.
Well, it's good for the public to be able to express themselves in these sorts of things.
Thank you. I think it's critical, so I appreciate you listening, and I hope you'll take this.
Well, I think we will, but I would suggest the same as what David said, that you might speak to the sheriff. And
I would love to.
And he'll be in, I assume, today.
Okay. No, that would.
He isn't going to be.
He's in Arizona at the conference.
Oh, well, that's nice. It's about as far away as he can
We
get.
always have his chief deputy
Who's
who stands
right
up
behind you, so you can grab his ear.
Touch base with you.
It's terrific. I would love to. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for
you.
coming in.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Now, is Michelle here?
Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
Before you have warrant number 54 in the sum of $322,428.65. This is mostly comprised of our monthly transfer tax to the state of Maine, radio communications to move dispatch equipment, and a monthly contract to Mikos Hospital for recovery coaching.
Is the business communications of Maine, that's the radio communications you just mentioned?
No, Business Communications of Maine is our phone service.
Phone service?
Radio communications management, RCM, is our radio services.
Could we have a motion, please, on 54?
Sure, move to approve the warrant number 54 for $322,428.65.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor of that.
Warrant number 56 in the sum of $318,246.80. Again, this includes our July health insurance, our April Maine State retirement, and money paid to Healthy Lincoln County for opioid settlement.
Move to approve warrant number 56 for $318,246.80.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor? Aye, 3-0 in favor.
Payroll number 10 for this year is in the sum of $286,402.88. This includes just under $11,000 worth of expenses tied to the alternative sentencing program that the Sheriff's Department runs twice a year. This is a program that Ryan can speak more on than I can. My general understanding is that it's a program that helps the community, but it also helps keeps folks out of the jail.
I move to approve payroll warrant 2025-10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
Just a quick update on audit. That's a big buzz right now. The industry itself for government is kind of imploding. There's new regulations coming for the end of the year that is changing a lot of auditors' practices. They're moving away from policy testing to risk-based testing, which is also causing a lot of firms to reduce their services. I already have an engagement letter with our auditor. We are safe for continued services, but a lot of clients are being dropped. I have gotten confirmation from them that our 2024 audit should be printed no later than June 13th. Our single audit confirmation letter that we've followed the compliance practices properly for federal dollars should be by the end of next week. And June 30th, we'll be starting the UT audit. Again, there's about 8 transactions that happen within that audit, so that's pretty smooth, but we probably won't see that till September.
Where is this change coming from?
A lot of it's being handed down through generally accepted accounting principles are being changed to help reduce fraud and risk exposure because of misappropriations across the industry. A lot of auditors are failing to be independent of their work. What's happening? Yeah, shock face. What's happening is auditors are coming in and they're reconciling accounts and they're getting the general ledger to where it needs to be before financial statements can be made. In the past, to keep themselves independent, they create the journal entries, but they don't do them. They request that the journal entry is done by management. So that has been their ability to be independent. But they're basically auditing their own work at that point when they put the financial statements together. So now they've changed the regulations to be more risk-based than policy-based, which requires more work, requires more testing. And a lot of municipalities don't have the skills and talent to be able to produce the documents needed, so.
Is this coming from the state level?
I think it's coming more from a federal level. I just took 3 consecutive terms in class on this, so.
I mean, it takes a number of terms to
to wrap your head around it, and I'm still a little squishy. So I think December 31st is going to show us some big changes on how audits moving forward. I also think that you're going to see more electronic audits happen. COVID kind of jump-started that, and the regulation and policies of how audits were performed weren't structured to be able to do successful electronic audits. So
But we have a vendor that can handle that going forward.
I've done an electronic audit every year since COVID hit,
Right.
and we've done pretty well with it.
The
But
diff-
for all of the audit.
Yes.
the difference we have versus many municipalities is Michelle prepares our financial statements and footnotes to the financial statements in-house. And many of them have the auditors do that.
Oh.
So they're not auditing their own work, they're auditing
Her work.
her work.
A lot of counties, it sounds like are behind, and sounds like we're right on target. Yeah.
And
It's
we
all
wanna stay
veneer in
that
here,
way.
don't worry about that.
Find some wood somewhere.
Try to find something.
Picture
Wood
frame.
There we go.
Picture frame.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but
hitting that,
you don't
it'll
want
fall
that to
down.
come down.
So I do my best to, with everything I give them, it still takes 6 months to get a printed report. So I understand why these counties are years behind.
Yeah.
So
So
it's a
thank
good
you.
market to get into,
it is.
auditing.
Hence my retirement
Plenty of
plan.
work. Don't go running too quickly.
No, I still have 10 years. Pickle line.
Save my ego, go down a little bit. There's a benefit from being first, I get to choose. This one,
That one I get to tell you.
you told me. I like it. There we go.
Thanks. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioner.
How are you today?
Can't complain, although I'd like to see the sun, if anybody has any
Yeah, that would be
control over
nice. It's probably down in Arizona with the sheriff.
that. You're reading my mind?
Sent him with some sunscreen. Right there, your feet. Right. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Caught in your wheels.
Caught my wheels. Do you want to just flick it to the collar or something? Or
higher this
higher, okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I did the clipping, so it's my fault. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Well, the High Sheriff's Department.
Yes, he's doing the research, hopefully, and
Yes.
coming back with good information and avoid potential pitfalls. So let's start with that jail count today. The total at Two Bridges today is 181. And that includes our number, it's 24, which continues to remain pretty steady. I think we have more pretrial and less sentence than last time we met, but that number's been pretty steady at that number. And you can see the corresponding counties. They include, obviously, the 4 federal, 3 border patrol, and the 20 ICE detainees. And I think the sheriff mentioned that last time, and I'll speak with this lady here when we're done, but again, those ICE detainees are there. I've seen, when we move them, they have to be accepted into Two Bridges, and then we get information on them, and they are, those people clearly have criminal records, and they're in the purpose of being deported because of their criminal history. So there's no administrative people being held at Two Bridges. In fact, I think the sheriff stated at the last meeting that there's a directive to our agency and confirmed with Two Bridges that we are not arresting on administrative warrants, nor is Two Bridges holding people on administrative warrants. So just want to clarify that. Any questions on the numbers? I did want to, out of just transparency, if you look at the daily sheet here, I don't, what was Commissioner?
Is there a page 5?
Well, I know, that's the transparency. I brought it with me because I wanted to save a tree. Literally, all it says is the jail count.
Oh, just the count.
I just wanted to make sure you knew I wasn't
Okay.
trying to hide page 5.
I was gonna, yeah, okay.
I knew someone would pick up on it, and that's what I was gonna say. I was trying to save a little bit of paper, that's why I printed both
I
sides.
don't know, the main paper industry may not be happy with that, but, thank you, that's good.
But that's
Yeah.
all it
Okay.
has, is just the 181 count.
Okay.
I didn't think that that was that important
Yeah.
to you all.
And we have it here anyway, so.
Yes. Any questions about the count?
No.
All right.
I'm
so-
glad you explained that to our guest.
Yeah, I'll speak with her and set up a time to speak with Sheriff Brackett if she wants that.
Great, thank you.
Good.
We'll work through that. And the sheriff's getting a number of calls, inquiry, emails, stuff like that. This is not you're not alone.
I know.
It's a real concern.
Yeah, and it's, and like I said, the more we talk about it, the more we get the word out there, hopefully the more comfortable people will feel about what's happening, at least in our community, so. All right, if you're okay, I'd like to move on to some purchase authorizations. The first one is Motorola in-car video systems. Just to catch everyone up so we all know where we are. Every one of our frontline cars, the marked cars and the sergeant's cars, all have in-car video, and we all have body cameras. Those guys all have them. We're in this transition period where WatchGuard used to be Motorola used to be WatchGuard. Motorola bought them out. And what came with that is some changes and some technology changes. And we were having some issues last year with our body cameras. They were basically failing. They weren't dependable. The way they were designed, you couldn't repair them, replace batteries, things like that. So we made the decision last year where we got rid of all those old body cameras and moved to a different style of body camera. It's more robust. It has more ability to replace a battery if you have to. What that has actually created, we did and do have a plan, although we may come back to you later this year with a plan to accelerate that but what's happening is we probably have, we have 18, 20 units right now between all our cars, and probably 6 or 8 of them are the new in-car systems that I'm asking you to buy here today. So that leaves us probably 6 to 10 old car systems after this. What it's creating and what we're trying to research best way to solve it is creating a lot of work for the guys and girls, because when the system is working in the way it's designed, in the car the deputy can tag the event, put a call number into it, and the body camera and the in-car video are all grouped together. They all go to one place, and then when you imagine the amount of data that we're collecting, and then we have to provide that data during court proceedings for sure. Right now, those cars that have the old car system and the new body cameras, we have to pull from 2 different locations. And the video systems, the body camera, which really has most of the real good data from them, is a system now that if the deputy doesn't have the new system in their car, they have to take that body camera to the office. They have to locate the video. They have to tag it and tag it in the right way so it is aligned with the right call. It's creating a lot of work for the deputies because we try to keep them out in the public. Now they're having to come in and spend time catching up with their video. So we made the decision with these 3 cars that we're building to put the new systems in so that we can reduce some of that work. We may come back with a plan. The sheriff and I talked last week. We're going to talk with Carrie about it. We may come back with a plan that any car that isn't planning to be replaced in 2026, because there's a cost to replacing a in-car system prior to its build. We usually replace the in-car systems when the cars are built, because you have to tear the car apart, put the video system in, put the car back together. So, but we may come back with a plan to buy 6 or 8 of these in 2025 for those systems that aren't planning to be replaced for 2 or more years down the road, simply because it's just proving to be inefficient, and it's creating stress and in some cases errors with collecting the data and putting it in the right place. But I'm not here today for that. I'm here to tell you today I just want to purchase 3 systems for these new cars that you guys approved last meeting. The purchase, again, out of transparency, the purchase price for these 3 cars is today is $6,120 for those 3 cars. However, again, Motorola, you don't purchase the system. You engage in a subscription based. So that's a price that we'll be paying for 5 years total. So the actual purchase price for these 3 systems is $30,600. You can't if you buy it ahead of time, you can't buy it any cheaper. That's the price. This is how they run their program, and either you do it or you don't. So again, out of transparency, today's cost is $6,120, but
That's just for this year.
This is for year 1 of the system. We'll be back to renew it in another year, and you're going to see some of these start popping up because of these new systems. That's just the way that they run their program. In the past, when WatchGuard ran the system, some of these older systems, we would buy the system and install them. We've got car systems in place right now that go back as far as 2014. So they're 10 or 11 years old. The good thing about that is under this first 5 year, if we have a problem with the system, it's warranted. Everything's covered, both the body cams and the systems. I'm hoping that after the 5-year system, we'll still get some life out of that. But I'm not going to tell you the technology is not going to change and the process will change. I can't predict that.
So it sounds like it's hardware and software together. I mean, as a system.
I might call it a scam, Commissioner.
Okay. Or it's a good scheme to earn.
It's really
money.
in our world. It's how everything is now based. Everything is subscription based. Whether it's our tip software, our video systems, even our mobile, our data system for our records management. It's going to be a subscription program that we're going to pay yearly subscription fees. It's just the way it is.
But supposedly with that come updates along the way, so you always have the current.
It will unless again after 5 years, right? A new system comes out and we're left with that decision. What are we going to do? I will tell you the cameras are invaluable. I know we had a situation. I think back to a situation where a gentleman was actively resisting 2 deputies, and in the course of that arrest, the gentleman ended up with I can't remember the details, if it was a broken arm, broken leg, right? It was all on video, everything was covered.
It's real resistance then.
Yeah, well, it was a good fight, I will tell you that. But the point is, without that video, right, we're subject to that 2 deputies broke a guy's,
Right.
This had body camera, car video. You saw the whole thing. And there was no civil action, whatever. But the point is the systems at the cost they are, which I understand they're not cheap, but they're potentially saving us millions, in litigation. And listen, it helps us with personnel complaints. It helps us on accountability, quality management, all those things. It's just, unfortunately, the world we are, it's expected, and it's a cost of doing business.
So did I understand it right that once the recording has happened, it's broadcast somewhere else, or does it stay in the vehicle?
Yeah, so-
on the body cam until they get back?
Yeah, so they can't erase them. There's no way they can erase
Okay.
them. They can't, that's just the parameters that's set up.
Right.
So the system, when it's running the way it is, is designed, but again, remember, we're running two different systems.
Right.
The in-cars, when they're running with the right body camera and everything synced together, and then when the deputy pulls into our parking lot, it sends it and downloads it instantly. They don't have to do anything. Now, when they're running two different systems, the in-car system downloads automatically as designed, but they have to take the video camera inside, put it in a port, and tag it so it's aligning with the right call number.
And that's what you were suggesting takes them away from being in the public?
Because
Or whatever,
they're in
because
there
they're
down.
doing the
If you think about it,
administrative stuff,
the guys are answering, depending on the shift, 5, 10 dozen calls a day, right? And we videotape everything,
Right.
right? And so every bit of that has to be tagged and documented. So at some point during their day, and the worst case scenario is we don't lose anything. There's a huge memory, but the worst case scenario is if a deputy doesn't get back to the office, he has to come back in at the beginning of his shift and catch up before he can start working on the other stuff. So it's just creating a lot of work, and it's also creating a risk for error, and so we're really looking at that. We're going to come up with a plan, meet with Carrie. We may come back, we may not, but it's just it's not working like we thought it would work. So today, this just helps put 3 more of the newer systems in that align with the new body cameras we already purchased, and so we can move that process forward.
And have you test-driven it yet in theory, or is it?
Oh, we
just,
have systems out there right now with
Right,
new
but they're the
in-car.
two, or-
Yeah. Those guys are the other guys are jealous of those
Okay,
guys, right?
right.
You know what I mean? But we have 4 to 6 of the new systems in place with the new body cameras, and those guys just pull in, it downloads, and they're done. But the guys that are running the old system with the new body cameras are the ones that have to come in, bring it in, put it in a dock, and tag it correctly.
So the subscription amount of this 6120, that's divided by 3 to get to
Yes.
the per car thing, and that includes the vehicle videos and the body cams together? or not?
Yes, well, see, we bought those body cameras. This would be higher than 6120 if we hadn't bought the body cameras last year.
okay.
Last year, we came to this board with a, I don't want to say it's a crisis, but it's not a problem till it is. Till we have an issue, we had a body camera fail, and then everyone's wondering why they're failing, or creates a lot of problems.
Right.
So we knew there was a problem. We addressed it by getting the newer body cams that are more reliable, more dependable. It just created this other problem that we really weren't prepared for. We're trying to take a look at it, try to figure out how many cars we're going to replace in 2026, and then look at those other cars and see how many we have, and we may come back with a plan to try to get as many of those newer systems in. Part of this whole thing is even if we had 5 cars and we got 5 systems, finding time for somebody to install them is not easy too. We struggle with that, so we'd have to talk with some of the people who do that work to see, even if we bought them, there's no sense of buying the stuff if it sits in a box and we wait for 6 months for it to come in, right? So those are all things that we talked about last week. This is just kind of keeps the ball moving forward, but I guess I wanted to at least start that discussion with you guys so you had heard about it. So 6120 keeps the ball moving.
That's for 3 cars.
3 systems, yes, sir.
That's for 3 systems, so it isn't per system.
No, it's whatever 6120 divided by 3 is.
Yeah.
No, you'd have to ask Michelle that one.
2060.
I knew you'd have.
Who's got the
2040.
cam-
So,
Move to approve the purchase of the 3 Motorola in-car systems.
Second.
Moved and seconded. If there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
Although I'm curious in this AI world of how many times somebody's gonna allege it's all doctored somehow, you know, so. Video isn't as secure anymore or as reputable because of it's all electronic, and if it's electronic, it can be altered. But not that you do that.
Don't pay that till we'll order it. Okay, the next item is a project we've been, again, moving forward with builds. It's, these are what we call vehicle repeaters. What they do is they create a portable repeater from our cars. So the deputies, if they're out in their car on their portable, if the system is set up right and their portable set up right, their portable actually talks to the car, and then the car, which has a stronger radio, sends out whatever they're saying, and then when it comes back to the car or the portable, and it just creates, in some of the more edgy areas of our radio system, it creates more reliability. We've been doing this for years. In fact, this is the first time that we're in a build where we're building 4 cars, but 2 of them already had vehicle repeaters in them, so we didn't need to buy them, obviously, again. So we're starting to get to the point where, hopefully we're getting to the point where we're at the end of this process. But they're basically to improve the reliability and dependability of the portable radios versus, it creates a mobile radio out of your portable. And that price is, for 2 systems, $5,383.69, and there is no subscription for that. That's a one-time cost.
Could we have a motion, please?
I move to approve the purchase of the 2 mobile vehicle repeaters for $5,383.69.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
There you go.
Order it. Sheriff goes away and leaves all this bill paying for me, doesn't he?
Then he says you're a big spender, right?
Yeah, what are you spending all that money for? All right, so the last purchase is for a vehicle that you approved at your last meeting. And there's just a little backstory to this, and again, out of transparency. So, history, we've had cases where we've ordered cars from Ford, and only to find out they canceled them on us. So, and they didn't tell us, we found out when we asked. To say I might have a little PTSD when we order cars about whether we'll actually get them, I do, and it did create, we're to a point where we're pretty good shape now, but it created a pretty stress on our system when suddenly 3 cars we were expecting to show up didn't show up. We had to start all over again. Last meeting you approved the purchase of a bid car for $45,520 from Quirk. Coincidentally, that same week, Quirk had ordered stock cars to come in, and they had a car arrive that had all the specs we wanted, plus a door lock plunger. I think that's a security system that prevents the car from someone just jumping in and driving away if the cars are running. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It was $150 more to buy this car than what you approved. I bit and said, yes, we'll take this car, because I was afraid of how long it might take for a new car to arrive, or if they canceled the order. So that's the transparency that you approved a bid of $45,520. I'm asking you to pay $45,670 for this new car.
And it sounds like with tariff and everything too, that potential, the price would have gone up much higher.
Well, I certainly know when I was talking with Dodge about those cars that they couldn't even, we talked about how we ordered those ones before May 1st because Dodge wasn't even providing pricing for cars after May 1st because of the potential tariff drama. I just thought we had an opportunity to put that car on our lot. It was $150 more, and I just thought it made a lot of sense based on the history. So I'm looking for you to approve the $45,670. If not, I'll pay the $150.
Move to approve
I second that.
payment
Makes me
authorization.
sleep better at night, Commissioner. I have that new car sitting there.
$45,670 and not a penny more.
Very good.
Who moved and seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
Don't go looking for any nice looking keychains either. Nonsense.
Well, they should throw those in, because he cut it off the lot immediately, so.
That one, if we could.
Should I pay the $45,520 and see if they notice?
Yeah, do what you need to do.
Probably would.
Send it to collections.
All right, here we go. Keep going here. All right, so the next one is something that I've kind of been waiting for it to happen for a while. In fact, I've had several conversations with them. I'm bringing a proposal to you today. Sergeant Aaron Mortensen has worked for the county 37 years. He is age eligible, service eligible for Maine State retirement. And he's got this letter looking to, he's looking for us to engage in the return to work policy that you approved last year. He qualifies both, again, by years of service and his age, so that he is eligible to come back immediately upon retire. And he is still looking to work out the exact details with Maine State Retirement. Commissioner Blodgett, I offered I might try to talk you into not supporting this just to create some drama in the neighborhood.
I can't believe he's been there 37 years, because I knew him when he was a tot.
So we're asking your permission to engage Sergeant Mortensen in this retire-rehire program with a date of no later than December 31st. He's got to have some discussions with them that he may feel like it's to his benefit to retire sooner. Although he may decide that another full year of service may be beneficial too. I'm going to leave that up to him, but this was the first process as far as for him to feel like he can make that next step.
I have to ask, you would approve this?
yes, sir, I would, but I'm hoping you won't, so. Can I at least tell him it was a 2-to-1 vote, and one of the commissioners was on the edge?
Would you say it was really tough? He mentioned status quo, so if he actually retired, we'd have to replace him, right? So this avoids us having to find replacement.
Exactly. I mean, part of the reason of this policy is, I mean, I don't know how many months we were down 2 people in that transport, and we were up to strength. So 1, to find a supervisor, but 2, to find another person would create a lot of added stress that's really not necessary. Even, if he retires on Friday and comes back to work on Monday, it's a benefit to us as well.
Well, despite the chair's reluctance, I move that we approve the retired hire of the sergeant.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. 3-0 in favor. Being a neighbor, I don't think.
Doesn't conflict you over there.
He did mention that he would cut that tree down that he been promising for you. Okay. This is just something we normally provide after each program. Thank you. So we just recently, completed our what we call our spring alternative sentencing program at Wavis. Surprisingly or not, some of the work projects were impacted by the weather. As far as the ability to work outside in some of the heavy rain that happened during the weekend there. But it basically highlights the number of participants we had, whether they're there for the weekend program or the week-long program, and the staffing, the savings in potential jail beds, the projects that were completed and where they were completed, and then the amount of hours of community service that were completed despite some of the weather. I always like to point out the fact that the alternative program sentencing program is more than just a work program. It's an education program. Basically, the community service projects happen during the day, and during the evenings they have education hours. And if you can see the list there on page 2 of the projects that were the education and their topics that were discussed each night. So that's just more of a FYI, update you on what's going on there.
And there's none from Lincoln County.
Yeah, Commissioner, there's some discussions that I think we plan on having, at least within the Mid-Coast region, about those numbers, and we may come back to you with a plan in the fall as to what that means. I know there was one that was supposed to be there, and there was an issue with their transportation to the program. So I suspect that one person from Lincoln will be there in October. Yeah, I've got some data that on that, and it's some things that we plan on discussing with our local district attorney's office and the other Mid-Coast agencies about what.
But it is a plus, the whole service is a plus for the
There's no
people.
doubt, well, yes, and there's no doubt there's a huge benefit to the individuals. There's a benefits to the jails as far as staffing, and there's also benefits to the community, right? Like I said, we had 2 or 3 projects that were canceled because of the rain, but we generally always try to do, besides the work that gets done at Wavis, we also try to do 2 or 3 projects out in the community outside of Wavis. So there's huge benefits to it. It's just, it would be nice to see a little bit more involvement from Lincoln.
Agreed. Saves us the most financially.
Well, I agree. Well, again, with the regional collaborative right now, obviously you look at Knox, Saginaw, and Waldo, all those numbers are somewhat impacted.
And do they benefit from, or how am I put this, when you review the program, do you track if you see these folks again, the participants, or do they, reoffend, or does that lower the risks?
I'm not sure if we keep that track for certain, but I am well aware we've had people come back.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think that the number of people. I think most of the time, through the prosecutors, they look at the alternate sentencing as an alternative, but I don't think it's an option. If you've been there once,
Right.
and you're back before them, I don't think that they're likely to. So as far as the recidivism rate out of those who, I don't have those numbers.
Okay.
Now, I think we should have a motion just to recognize that this was given us.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to recognize the service.
The value of the program.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 in favor.
All right, last item I have for you today is a continuation of the MOU for policing services for the town of Boothbay Harbor. This is MOU would run from the period of whatever. It's busy for all of us, but Carrie's looked this over, and we're ready to move forward with this.
So is it just seasonal, or is it a year-round?
We've been doing this 2 years now.
Okay.
2 years. Boothbay Harbor is struggling with their staffing, and they're it's from our point, our staff hasn't seemed to be too. They're okay with doing the shifts down there, and it hasn't been too overloading. Early on, we were working probably 60, I think, hours down there. So I think the harbor's doing everything they can do to police their own, but we're a good safety net.
And you still have the capacity to handle the rest of, what you're doing normally.
Yes.
anyways.
This contract, basically, it doesn't lock us in to provide any hours. If we can't do our core functions,
Right.
if it impacts our core functions, then the harbor will be treated just like any other town. So we're not gonna be light in our patrols to cover a Boothbay Harbor shift.
And how many towns do you have MOUs with?
Just Boothbay Harbor.
Just Boothbay, okay.
That goes back when they were in a pickle a few years ago.
Yes, like I said, it's been a couple of years.
And it's just staffing, that's their problem, or?
Yes, just trying to get up to staff. They've tried a number they've tried some of the same things that we've had done, and they've had some success.
And you grab them before they go down there, right?
Well, that may be.
Being at the top of the peninsula, so.
We set up a little checkpoint on 27.
Okay, so
Move to approve
Who signs this?
the MOU for Boothbay Harbor and the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department.
Seconded.
moved and seconded. If no other comments, all in favor? Aye, 3-0 in favor.
And then I get a copy once it's all
The
signed.
summer
Set it
deputy
up
lend
to-
lease continues.
Excuse me?
I said the summer deputy lend lease program.
Yes.
He's gonna label everything.
All right, I'm sorry it took up so much time.
No, but thank you, it's all important stuff, so.
It feels like a blur.
Gonna say, Catherine's been patient back there since she's not on the list, so.
She's at the payment
bottom.
authorization.
Oh, is she at the bottom?
Yep.
I didn't make it that far.
We never get to see you.
I know.
No.
This morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here Looking for a purchase authorization request for a court-appointed attorney in a case that we had. And some of you may be aware that the judge can appoint counsel if a non-consenting parent whose parental rights have not been terminated is entitled to court-appointed legal counsel if indigent. In a contested action, the court may also appoint counsel for any indigent guardian or petitioner when a parent or legal custodian has no counsel. So we had a case where we needed to appoint an attorney to represent an indigent party, and I'm looking for approval to approve the sum of $2,850 for a court-appointed attorney.
Can you tell us, what does the judge do to consider who to appoint, or what's the process?
Sure. So, when a case is filed, if someone asks for an attorney, they must fill out an indigent form. And if they qualify, the judge approves. We then look to find a counsel or an attorney to represent them in a proceeding. He then, once I locate an attorney, I then prepare the paperwork approved by the judge. He limits the hours, he sets the hours, and then we proceed going forward. If the attorney finds that they are going over the hours, they must submit something in writing for approval by the judge to authorize the additional hours.
And are the attorneys from Lincoln County, or do they draw from all around? Or?
So we're pretty lucky. We draw what we can from Lincoln County, but we do draw from other counties when we need attorneys or even guardian ad litems to represent in particular cases. So.
And do you usually build in a yearly budget for?
We do.
To that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, I move we approve the payment authorization for the court-appointed attorney at $2,850.
Seconded.
Any other questions?
This isn't
Moved and seconded.
super often, is it?
No, not
Didn't
very
think so.
rarely. People ask, they fill out the paperwork. So no, it's not.
I don't think I've seen it a lot.
Not overly common.
No, not with us. No.
And you do the financial screening to see if the person's qualified?
I have them complete the paperwork. I make sure it's completed before submitted. He makes the decision, and I go on his recommendation and to move forward. So.
Okay.
Call the vote.
If no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
Thank you.
So how's all your legislation going?
How's the big one?
Held over to next session.
Well, maybe it'll be
Is that
another
every
10
year?
sessions.
Which I presume it's next beginning in January. I'm not sure.
Yes,
And something's held over. So.
but they can
we're
always,
at the very end of everybody's action up there, so it might turn into something much more generous before it disappears.
Yeah. So no, we've been busy.
Yeah.
We've had close to 20 bills that touched probate, so I've either been up to testify, submitted testimony, or testified from here, and been involved in a work session or two. So it's an interesting
Right. And that's through
process.
your association?
Yes.
Don't have too much fun up there.
I've learned a lot, knowing how, when I went to my first work session, I'm like, I didn't bring anything. And then I'm like, oh, she does all of the and talking, and I was just there for questions. So each time I go up, I learn a little bit more about the process, get to know the Judiciary Committee a little bit better, so.
And does your association have a lobbyist?
If we, I don't know,
You
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but.
It's you.
Yeah, it's me.
You're the
Yeah.
lobbyist, okay.
So, but,
Unpaid lobbyist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny how that works, huh?
yeah, but it's, I don't mind doing it, someone has to do it, so.
Right.
Catherine's the president of their association this year.
Well, congratulations.
No, thank you.
You think?
But thank you very much for this.
Yes.
okay, you're welcome.
Welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
We'll get you some more sticky notes.
Yeah, do you like that?
Note to self, always read rules first.
Yeah, well, no, it helps
because
me find things in a hurry, so especially if the judge is on the bench, so.
Yeah.
Great, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay,
Tell us about trucks.
I'll tell you about our 2018 Kenworth recycling roll-off truck. So we have two roll-off trucks. One is a 2018, one's a 2019. And these repairs are from New England Kenworth, which is where we purchased the trucks. And the 2018 had some intake and exhaust leaks. The check engine light was on. So that was beyond what our on-site mechanic was able to diagnose and repair. So we sent it to Kenworth in Portland, and the total cost is $2,668.74.
We approved that last meeting or so?
It was a different repair.
It was a different repair. Well, I was gonna say that was quick if it just happened over the last couple of weeks, though, right? So,
So could we have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
second.
Moved and seconded. If there are no questions, all in favor? Aye. 3-0 in favor.
The next two items are related, and they're very similar to the situation that Chief Deputy Maker explained, that we're buying subscriptions for products, annual subscriptions, instead of actually buying the product. In the past, we would buy Microsoft licenses for all of our employees to use. Now they have a subscription base, and this is through the Microsoft 365 platform. So they call it an annual license. We have it split into two different invoices. One includes our Arctic Wolf managed detection server in addition to licenses, and one is just for licenses.
What is the Arctic Wolf platform?
So a few years back, our Homeland Security grant was tied to cybersecurity efforts to beef up what we were doing on site for cybersecurity. And we accepted their proposal that we dedicate some funds specifically towards this effort. And when I reached out to our IT vendor, Burgess Technology, this is what they recommended. They said it's not an over-the-top platform, but it's a very robust platform that's right-sized to our agency. It's a managed detection platform, meaning the folks that work at Burgess can always see what's coming in through our network. And there's been several instances in the last 6 months even where I've gotten notified that there was unusual activity happening in our network. And it usually presented itself as somebody trying to log into their account from a location that wasn't a known location. So we had one individual travel to Canada, was trying to access email while they were out of the country. I got a notice saying, do you know that this person is out of the country? Is this something you're expecting? So I could confirm that yes, indeed, that is accepted. They had the correct password, the correct multi-factor authentication, but it was just unusual location activity. In another situation, we had one of our detectives at the sheriff's office was logging into his email account and it was erroring out. And that login was coming out of Arizona. Our detective was sitting at home at the time. It was an after hours call, but he was sitting at home not trying to log into his account. It was somebody that was trying to access our system fraudulently.
And Burgess caught that through this
Burgess caught it through
monitoring
this
system,
platform,
okay.
didn't allow the activity to come through and completely shut it off.
Right.
And they could see this happening thousands of times where they just kept trying to get in over and over and over again. And this system has really paid for itself. It's an expensive product, I'll admit that, but it's not just that managed detection, it's all the activity coming through our firewall and in our server activity. They're watching that constantly. They've got many folks that are assigned to these tasks, so they're all trained to do this, and so far we've been very fortunate and not had any breaches.
Well, it sounds like cybersecurity is a big concern across the counties, and have we had any like cybersecurity audits, or do you think we're well protected overall?
So this isn't the only approach that we're taking, we also have specific training for our employees. Every employee is required quarterly to do cybersecurity training. It's usually a series of 3 or 4 different videos, and then they have to take a quiz on each component of it. And then periodically throughout that quarter, Burgess is doing targeted testing. So they'll send out a fake email, and it goes out at different times for different people. So I might get it on the 1st of the month, and somebody else might get it on the 12th of the month. It comes in looking very legitimate. A lot of times it'll come from HR at lincolncounty.com or something. It looks like a legitimate email address, but if you participated in the training and took the message out of the training, you don't fall for it. And the report that I get monthly tells me who received it, what time, if they opened the email, if they clicked on the link, if they then took further action, and if they were actually breached, meaning a fake breach that was hosted through Burgess. But we've not ever had somebody go all that way through that cycle. Many of our employees will open it because you can't really tell from receiving it whether or not it's fake, and most of them don't click the link. Those that do can get extra training so that they can stop doing that.
And it seems like double factor authorization is a big thing too. Are we
It is.
employing that?
And I verified with Micah last week that we have multi-factor authentication employed for our emails and our remote network access. So the requirements that we have for the risk pool, we're following those.
Perfect.
So the first purchase order is just for Microsoft 365 licenses. These also help us in our cybersecurity efforts. It's a much more controlled way of us getting the Microsoft platform, and it was recommended by Burgess that we move to this instead of a standalone license. The first one is for $10,122, and that represents 67 licenses plus an Active Directory subscription.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. If there are no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
The second one is for $38,154.75. This includes 26 licenses, 1 Active Directory, plus the Arctic Wolf Managed Detection Server platform.
How many licenses again on the first one?
67.
67?
67.
7, yeah.
So this covers everyone in.
67.
67.
Okay.
The second one is 26.
Okay.
We have more licenses than we have employees because we have computers in the cruisers. So each computer needs to have its
By the
own.
computer, not by the employee.
In some specific circumstances, yes.
All right. Move to approve for 38,154 and 75.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All-
Just, do you have a separate price on the Arctic Wolf platform, or is it
There's
just?
many pieces of it, so.
Okay.
17.
It must be the bulk of that.
It is.
Because if you get 67 licenses for 10,000,
It's about $34,000 rough
okay,
amount.
but it's worth the protection, sure, and the training, so if that's part of that.
It is not. The
Oh,
training
that's not-
is.
it's separate,
The
okay.
training is separate.
That's
on
just
our
for the
monthly.
software or whatever,
Right.
okay. I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 in favor.
And these are amounts that we budget annually.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's it. So, under old business, I don't have anything new on the DA's office. I did not reach out to them on that. The LCTV proposal is still pending. We did submit a check for the purchase of the camera and all of the associated equipment that goes with that. And I would imagine that in the next week or so, I should be contacted by Larry about
Okay.
getting that installed.
It'd be great once you know install date to let us know so we can
Yep.
spread the word that we'll
Spread the
have
word.
better video front and back.
I did set up a YouTube account, so we'll be
Okay.
live streaming through YouTube, and we'll still be able to accept remote participation through our Zoom account. They'll be
And-
hooked together.
Okay, and somebody will be working that account so that the agenda can be
We haven't gotten that
put on
far,
there. Okay,
but we will get there.
good, okay, thank you.
The public safety building project, we had another meeting, we looked at different parcels, and the consultants have gone back to their original calculation. They had a couple things that were a little bit skewed from what we would like them to be doing, so they're gonna grade the parcels that we recommended. There were some that we've eliminated because of not enough land, buildable land within the parcel. We need to have, I think it was 14, either 12 or 14 acres that they've identified that should be buildable for building, parking lot, outbuildings, and so on. And some of the parcels we originally looked at had too much wetland that made it non-buildable for the amount of acreage. that
Are they
we're looking for.
checking the municipalities' codes too to see if it fits in?
So once we narrow the list, then our folks at the planning commission are going to do a regulatory analysis on each parcel
Okay.
and do the mapping that we need to actually try to do a site layout to see if it's a
Right.
feasible parcel.
Okay. It just seems like, what do you do first if you have like the complete design and concept, then look for the land, or do you have the land and then, put it in those constraints too?
But they've,
or is it-
they've got some initial calculations for footprint,
Okay.
whether it be a one-story or two-story
Whatever.
construction, and then all of the other pieces that would need to go with that. They've given me a square footage that would need to be allowed within the parcel, so we're kind of looking at it from multiple angles all at once.
Right.
And once we get maybe 3 or 4 sites that we're looking at, then it'll go to
Then you-
planning.
And more specific stuff,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yep.
great.
And I have an update on 2 tax abatement applications, not just one. The first one is scheduled for June 10th at 9 a.m. An off week was selected specifically because of the volume of documents that were submitted with this application. This is with the town of Bremen. This application, the petitioner has hired a law firm to represent them, and I would imagine that there's going to be a lengthy conversation associated with that appeal. So a date off from our regular commissioners meeting was selected, and that was June 10th at 9 a.m. And I've confirmed with both the town and the petitioner,
This is Bremen.
Bremen. We will hold that hearing in the multipurpose room, just to give us more space for 2 different parties to be able to be represented at the same time instead of sharing this table. The second one is with the town of Whitefield, and that's the application that we have already accepted, and that's now scheduled for June 3rd, our next commissioners meeting at 11 a.m. I'll make sure that the regular meeting agenda is appropriate sized for us to be able to finish up by 11 a.m. I
Well-
don't anticipate that one to be as lengthy.
Will we be here or?
We'll be
okay,
here.
Okay.
And I just got confirmation that the petitioner's available last night, so I'll be sending out that notice later today. I do have a third application, but it was submitted incomplete. I sent a message to the petitioner, and I also called and actually got one of the parties on the phone to let them know that they needed to complete an additional document and that it is due on Friday, I believe.
And that was Whitefield as
That's
well?
also Whitefield. And because that application is not complete, I didn't put it on today's agenda to accept. So we'll have that on June 3rd to accept if it arrives. And that was all I had under old business. Did you have information to share on MCCA or any of the other associations?
LCRPC has got a new Edgecombe person. I don't know if they've approved them yet, but we're picking up one of the selectmen. George Chase is going to be on that board of directors. And the Coastal Counties Workforce Board has approved their local workforce plan. That's all from my end.
Well, I can say that I attended the risk pool meeting, and cybersecurity was a big part of that discussion, so that's why I asked the administrator some additional questions on that. And fortunately enough for us, she attends those meetings as well, so she's in tune.
Were there any payouts where situations could have been better if they had a better policy involved?
There is an outstanding claim, I think it's out of Somerset maybe, but the big discussion. Franklin. And there is discussion of like whether or not the deductible is at a certain level, if the county used the double multi-factor authentication or not. So it's important to have that because you get better coverage under that. And I guess they didn't realize that to begin with, is my understanding.
There are
could be some digital
several
equity
counties
issues
that
there.
need some new training anyway.
Right.
So
Is there anything to add to that one?
Franklin County, it fell under the more generous coverage because their budget is less than that threshold.
Right.
Our budget is higher than that threshold, so that's why I checked in to make sure our multi-factor authentication was in place.
And you know, I wrote down that threshold,
I think it's
and
15 million.
it was, yes.
If we didn't pay for that $150 door plug, we'd be under the threshold.
Well, we'd have to cut a few more things out
Yeah,
also.
Show you my dongle. We are multi, I can't log on without pushing this damn button.
I know,
to get this number.
it's a hassle, but I guess it protects us, unfortunately, we have to do that. I'm not sure if you're aware, the MCCA convention is in September, and they're planning on having Amanda Rector, who is the state economist, as a speaker, so I don't have the exact date, I think it's the third week
I think I have
of
that.
September, but hopefully you guys can
1820.
make it for the 18th and 2020. And it's just at Sebastopol down in Pittsburgh, so it's not too far away. It's not like we have to travel
When was
way
the
up
last
north,
time
so-
Lincoln County hosted that? Were you here?
I was.
When was that? Do you recall?
Ought
1824.
In fact, I
12 to
think
20 years ago?
we've had it a couple of times.
Oh, really? And do you recall where they held it?
Down at Booth Bay Harbor at the, on the
Lincoln?
east, Lake,
No.
Spruce.
Spruce Point,
Spruce Point, okay.
which was both times very nice.
2012?
What's that?
Was it 2012? 2011 or 2012, somewhere in there.
That's about the time.
It was right before I started.
Sounds like.
Yeah, that was a great place to have it.
Cool.
So they're
Thanks.
planning on having some good programming, and again, around cybersecurity, I think is what I heard, and they have a sheriff speaking, and some other speakers.
They asked
to
me to
line up.
be a speaker.
Try and
Yeah.
schedule you at Friday morning.
That's exactly when they're scheduled.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm supposed to be at the workforce annual meeting in Brunswick that morning, so you can go Friday morning, then I won't feel like I missed anything.
And what's the topic that you would deliver?
County services for the new commissioners that may not have attended the annual meeting.
Okay.
I was asked to be on a panel.
Oh, okay. You're not just gonna repeat what you did?
No, I hope not. That's
Well, that was
a little
good.
stale.
Okay, not too bad. And then last, I participated in LCP, the Legislative Committee, and they're just looking at the last few bills that they expect of the session. Nothing too earth-shattering there.
Cool.
There's been a lot of activity on jail funding bills. So we're hoping that something comes out of appropriations that is going to benefit Two Bridges.
Particularly for me, the one that, if we can get past, is the state requirement that the state covers 30% of the jail costs.
Operating costs, yeah.
Operating costs, I mean, if we can get that, will be very helpful.
Yeah. It would really alleviate a lot of pressure on the county appropriation for jail funding and help our property taxpayers
Right.
around the state.
So, that's all I have.
Did you want to give an update on the consolidated project?
Sure. We talked to the government affairs representative from Fidium yesterday. We've been meeting monthly with him, and they've been giving us updates, and most of the project is wrapping up the placement, which is running all the lines, and many people are looking to get service between June and August. So things are rolling right along. I'm sure you read in the newspaper that there were some arrests in Whitefield of some folks that were vandalizing telephone
yes.
communications and stealing the copper wires
Is that right?
that the sheriff's office assisted in. Seems like it was, according to the press release, it was over $230,000 worth of damage, and the company thinks it's well north of that figure.
230?
30,000, but they think it's well above that figure. And they weren't affecting the fiber project, but they were stealing the phone cables that were already in place. So could have led to a big emergency if something had happened and people tried to call
I wonder if
911.
that,
Yeah.
does that implicate federal charges too, because of the wire
Good
lines?
question.
And
There were 3 folks from China that were charged, and
China,
seems like
Maine.
seems like they were operating in the same areas over and over again. So things would get fixed, and they'd come back and take things down.
Well, how about the prosecution? Are they?
I don't have anything to do with that end. The company hopes that they're charged to the fullest extent of the law, so they've definitely put a headache on them as they're trying to work on other stuff and not keep up their phone network. That shouldn't really have to be upkept at all. But all that aside, the fiber aspect is looking good. People are excited. Things are getting installed, so
Good.
they've been working like crazy. In fact, they've been working too late in some places. I got some reports on Facebook that they were working at like 10:30 at night, and people had to tell them to go the hell home.
I think I saw them on a holiday out there too.
So yeah, I think that they've probably built in an incentive to their contract team to get some stuff done by a deadline.
There's a large crew on site.
There's 4 or 5 people at our vans parked at Shaw's last night at like 10 o'clock.
I saw them too.
They want to get the
They're
project done.
everywhere. It's exciting. You can get it at your house, Bill.
I need to find out a little more about it.
Good.
Ruben.
We can do that.
Do you know Ruben?
Do I? Yes.
Ruben can answer any question you have.
He seems to be, I heard it at a meeting, and he seemed to be.
He's very knowledgeable.
He'll
certain-
appreciate that because he just texted me referring to the conversation we were having, so he's watching at home.
So,
Oh, is that-
before I
Ruben's
have to,
dialed in.
before I have to take a little break here, I want to move for executive session for discussion of real property under 1 MRSA 4056C.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.